Ignition. Liftoff.
My name is Matthew Barnes.
And I'm Ty Shad.
In baseball, there's a location known as the bullpen, where pitchers can warm up before they take the mound.
But it ends up being a place where guys just chew bubblegum, build brotherhood, and talk sports.
This show is our bullpen, just two guys who love sports tackling the big topics.
So come join us. There's plenty of room in here. We'd love to have you along.
This is The Bullpen on WACW. What is up, everybody? It's been a big week in sports. This is The Bullpen on WACW. Just as our intro music said, I am Matt.
I'm Ty.
I'm Sam.
And we are back for another week of just some good conversation. We're just a couple of guys who just we love talking sports, and we love doing it in front of others, just having these conversations. So feel free, if we say anything that kind of gets you going, if you're listening right now, feel free to contact us, and we'd love to have you on the show just so we can kind of grow this community. But we're going to talk about a lot of different things, and we normally start this thing off with what we call the good, bad, and ugly, and it's kind of our way of recapping the last week. We kind of came to the realization that it was a little bit of a pessimistic feel, honestly, coming up with two terrible things every single week and only one good thing. You know, I think that more things happen good in sports than bad. I mean, I like to think so, at least. And so we're going to try to change it up a little this week. I have it as the great, good, and bad. I'm going to go with two things that I enjoyed. Ty went with great, bad, and infuriating.
Didn't have as good a week as you, Matthew.
Yeah, not everyone can. You know, I'm pretty blessed.
It's my turn to hop on a soapbox this week.
And then Sam, I don't know what your adjectives are going to be.
I am also doing great, bad, infuriating. Ty inspired me.
You guys are still wanting to go with the pessimistic stuff. I guess I'm the only one on the optimist train. That's all right. You guys will jump on it eventually. I feel good about it. So we're just going to roll with whatever our own adjectives are, I guess, this week. That's fine. We might get on the same page in the future, but it really just depends on the week. So I'm going to kick things off.
The show on the road.
Let's get it started. I'm going to get it started with my great. And this is a sport that we have never talked about on the bullpen. And I'm going to be completely honest, I don't really watch it. I mean, I'm not going to act like I do because I'm not a liar, and that would definitely be lying. This is women's college basketball. I never watch it unless there's like a top 3 matchup, and Louisville's in that top 3 matchup because the Louisville basketball or girls basketball team is really good. They've been Final Four contenders like the past 5 years, and they were in the Final Four last year. They're really good. Like, they're a top 3 team in the nation, and they hosted UConn, who's obviously a juggernaut in women's college basketball. Part of the reason why it doesn't get a huge following is just because they're like the Warriors or the Patriots of women's college basketball. They dominate every single year. Well, this year UConn's a little bit worse than they normally are. They're more vulnerable. They're still really good, but they're more vulnerable than normal. And U of L hosted them as the highest attended women's college basketball game of the season, and it honestly rivals some men's games. Honestly, there were 17,000 people here. They packed out the Yum, and U of L pulled it off. This is the first time in 17 years where U of L has beaten UConn. I think they beat us 26 straight times. It's like they've been in our heads every single year. No matter how good we are, they still beat us just because it's almost like we were just intimidated to play them. But this year, our girl stepped up to the plate. Asia Durr. This girl she's a phenomenal. I actually watched this game just because I had to tune in. It was on ESPN1, and I thought it was interesting. She balled out. The whole team balled out. It was a fun time, and I'm proud of our girls. They played a great game, and it's historic. It's probably the best winner in our program's history. So you know what? It's going on my great. I'm changing it up this week.
A Louisville man through and through.
I watch everything.
Fair enough. Held true to your principles.
I'll watch U of L lacrosse if it's on TV and I have nothing else to do. I will watch U of L lacrosse just because I just watch U of L sports. I'm not just a Louisville men's basketball fan. I'll watch whatever if I feel like it's interesting and it involves my team. So you know what? I watched the women and they balled out. So congrats to you guys. Ty, what's your great?
The Cincinnati Bengals officially hired Zach Taylor as their 10th head coach in franchise history. A bit of a risky move. The only reason I say it's good is because it's not Marvin Lewis, and we'll see a fresh face on the sideline. That's all I could ask for this year. And I watched his introductory press conference yesterday. He really talked a lot about establishing communication and just kind of a mutual respect in the clubhouse. And he touched on how he was going to gain the players' respect and how he believes that if you can make a player better, they'll buy into anything you're trying to teach. So, it's exciting to hear those words because Marvin Lewis was anything but eloquent at the mic, and it's a little something to hope for. He really wants to have an attacking offense that was similar to what the Rams did this year. That's kind of his vision. He's going to go off that system, and so maybe we'll be a little something more to see next year.
Joe Mixon is the new Todd Gurley.
Joe Mixon is Todd Gurley.
Yeah, I agree.
Hold your horses there.
I don't know.
maybe the Todd Gurley we got in the NFL playoffs. Yeah, Joe Mixon's that
Joe
Todd
Mixon's
Gurley.
come
better.
on
He's
now.
better than that Todd Gurley.
Okay.
You'll see next year. You'll see.
We'll see.
You'll see, Barnes.
He's good. I'm
So,
not saying that.
on to my great from Super Bowl 53. We're going to hit on this in the show later. But this is going to sound like a weird praise, but I really want to praise the punters in Super Bowl 53. Johnny Hekker of the LA Rams, despite the fact they lost 13-3, had a Super Bowl record 65-yarder. Ryan Allen had every punt of his was 49 yards or more. Johnny Hekker had 50-plus yards on every punt, including as the aforementioned 65-yarder, which broke a record set by Sean McCarthy in 2001 in that Super Bowl. But the punters,
Punters are people too.
they are. And despite the Rams' loss, it was of no fault of Johnny Hekker. The punters did well, and dare I say it, they actually put forth a winning effort.
Yeah. If the Rams had ended up winning that football game, Johnny Hekker should have been the MVP, honestly. I would have given it to him. It would have been a very anticlimactic MVP as far as, people want to see, one of the skill players, like a running back, wide receiver, quarterback, someone that's, more notable. But Johnny Hekker, this dude can kick a football really far, and that's what he did. And Patriots punter was good, too, but I think Hekker outplayed him. But unfortunately, the rest of the Rams team didn't live up to what Hekker set as far as standards.
Yeah, Hekker was by far the best Ram performer that
Well,
night.
and he had plenty of
While we're touching
opportunity.
on the topic, let's just address this. Sam's our champion.
Oh, yeah.
I am the
Sam
pick'em
is
champion.
our champion.
Because the Patriots did win, and Matt put it all on the line for 2 points.
I feel like I need to be in Ty's type of statement here where, I talked to him about how he always picks the Steelers to lose primetime, and he says, you know what, I sleep better at night, and I don't regret anything, even though I end up losing those games on the score sheet. I'm going to go with a similar stance. First of all, congratulations, Sam. You earned it. I'm not making excuses, but I sleep better at night, and I do not regret picking the Rams because I refuse to pick the dang Patriots to win anything for the rest of eternity. I hate this team. So you know what? I have no regrets. I lost fair and square, but I still have no regrets. Screw the Patriots.
And I applaud you. Putting 2 points, kind of a double or nothing on there. Classic riverboat gambling. So I can appreciate
Congratulations,
I
Sam.
refuse to go with a tie. I would rather lose than frickin' tie.
that.
So
Yeah, if we
Enjoy-
tied, that would just be depressing. but-
Enjoy the win because you're never going to have it again, Sam. Because I'm taking it next year.
Ty,
big
just try to
talk
get to
here.
500 first. Then you could talk about.
Fair enough. Hey, I think I did get to 500 because I won. I picked the Patriots too.
You did pick
Or
the
I think
Patriots.
I still may have been a game under.
You finished,
500.
I think, 14-13, or maybe
Well, there
12.
you go.
I think you finished.
I'm like the Cleveland Browns. I had a bit of a bad year, but I bounced back. I had 2 years in one. Went 0-16, and then I went whatever the Browns did this year. So I'm on the rise. I'm Baker
All
Mayfield.
right. Well, we'll trust you for that.
Trust
I'm
me.
gonna move on to my good. Because I'm going great, good, bad. My good is not something really that happened. Well, it did happen in the last week. The event hasn't happened yet, but the 3-point shootout has announced its. Well, really, all of the All-Star festivities have announced their rosters. But the 3-point shootout specifically was one that caught my eye because I think it's going to be a really good time. And the 3-point shootout is normally pretty loaded. Normally, but I think that they did a great job this year as far as scheduling of who they're going to have in this contest. I think it's going to be wildly
we got
competitive.
both Curry brothers, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes,
So here's your
yeah.
lineup. You have Devin Booker, who won it last year. Fantastic shooter. Definitely one of the best in the
He
league.
needs to get out of Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
He does. But as far as just him individually, dude's a great shooter. Seth Curry, Steph's little brother, gets overshadowed a
Hot
lot.
take,
Still sprays.
better shooter than Steph.
Shut up.
Oh, come on.
Now, Steph Curry, his
Look
brother.
at the percentages.
Steph wins those.
Oh, my Lord.
I don't know.
Oh, good Lord.
That's a real hot take. You're burning up, man. Steph Curry, Yeah, so the two brothers going to go off. Danny Green from the Raptors. Definitely really big-time shooter as far as, like, in the clutch. We'll see how he does in the clutch in the three-point shootout. Consistently good shooter. Joe Harris from the Nets. This guy kind of flies under the radar, but he shoots 45% for the season from three. This dude can shoot, like, real well. Very similar to, like, a Kyle Korver, J.J. Redick. It's more spot-up, but to his praise is that these are going to be spot-up threes in the shootout, so he has a chance.
Yeah, and it should be noted that Joe Harris leads the Eastern Conference in three-point percentage this year.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, he's great. Buddy Hield from the Kings. I think everybody remembers this dude at Oklahoma in college, how he can light it up. And he's having a great season, really running for most improved player. He's really improved his game, and he can shoot. Damian Lillard, that's a big-time name, obviously an all-star. Chris Middleton, I don't really watch the Bucks a whole lot unless I'm watching the Greek Freak, but I know he can shoot.
How many guys have they got in this thing?
Quite a few. And then, Dirk Nowitzki, that's more of like a respect pick. He can still shoot, but I mean, I don't think he can compete with these guys just because he's old.
Yeah.
But it's more of just like a respect. You know, he's going to be retiring soon. They got to put him in another one. And then Kemba Walker, who also can shoot. So I think it's going to be...
Kemba won't win.
No, he won't win.
No.
But, like, I just think that the star power they have in this thing, just the respectable players they have in it, I think it's going to be wide open.
Let's do a quick pick.
I'm going to go with Stephen Curry. I mean, I'm not going to doubt him.
Sam?
Seth Curry.
Give me Joe Harris.
Joe Harris.
Just never heard of the guy, but I like what I
You like what you hear?
It's like betting on horses, man. Give me that one.
You like the one with the funny name.
Well, you'll be making more money if Joe Harris wins because I'm sure he's, as far as in the betting odds, he's probably a little more on the underdog list. If I'm putting $10 on Steph Curry, I'd probably make like 15 if he wins. You know, he's probably like the betting favorite. But if you ride with the dark horse, Joe Harris, you might be making some money, Tom.
Let's go, Joe.
All right, so that's my good.
On to mine. So I'm going to do a bad, and mine's just the L.A. Lakers. A lot of dysfunction going on there. You know, they're trying to trade their whole team, and they can't even get it done for Anthony Davis. It's just LeBron and a team that is looking like they're kind of falling apart. And I believe they're at like 500, not even a few games out of the playoff race. So
they're right at 500 right now.
All-Star break's coming at a good time. They really need to regroup and figure out what they're going to do with their team the second half of the season. I think I'd be hard-pressed to say LeBron's not going to make the playoffs, but the way things are going, it's looking like it could be up in the air.
Yeah, the Lakers just aren't good. They offered...
Well, we're going to get into that later. We're going to get into that later.
All right, yeah.
I don't want to ruin the whole conversation this early. We'll get to that.
Let's cross that bridge
But as far
later.
as just the Lakers' chemistry and just like their organization right now, their players don't look like they want to play with each other. There's a lot of drama and just some controversy from when they lost by 46 to the Pacers yesterday. They're just looking like a hot mess. And
the pictures of LeBron sitting with like 3 seats in between him and the rest of the teammates really just says everything.
It makes you feel like he has some regrets almost. It almost makes you feel like he just like doesn't want to play with these dudes. Obviously, he wants Anthony Davis. But we'll get into that later.
But stayed in Cleveland.
So now, Sam, you're bad.
My bad. Well, frankly, my bad is the L.A. Rams offense for the Super Bowl. Best scoring offense in the NFL, put up 3 points in 60 minutes. Jared Goff was not good. Todd Gurley had 4 touches all game. C.J. Anderson couldn't get anything going. Robert Woods had 5 receptions to his credit.
Brandon Cooks was their leading receiver.
Cooks was their leading receiver. He had 4 receptions for, I think, 63 yards, which is not bad. Especially that Jared Goff didn't.
Cooks actually ended up padding his stats a little bit there at the end. I'm pretty sure he had like 100 or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
He was up there.
I kind of stopped keeping track.
The worst part about that was their offensive line. Goff was getting bullied. Not the offensive line was getting bullied. Goff was getting pressured and made uncomfortable all game long.
Yeah, he was rolling out in the pocket.
Goff gets a lot of he's probably going to get most of the blame. I've seen him get most of the blame from the media as far as like he played terrible, and I'm not defending him. He did play bad. But in his defense, like you guys just said, he had a lot going against him as far as his offensive line didn't give him any help.
And he had a couple of bad breaks. He had a pass to Brandon Cooks that was catchable for a touchdown, went through his hands. He had another one where he had Cooks open in the back of the end zone.
McCourty comes over.
Threw the ball late, but it was a fantastic play by McCourty to break that up because if you've watched it from the wide angle, McCourty's like he's out in left field and he comes out of nowhere to knock
and it was a great throw. It's just unfortunately it had slightly too much airtime as far as like time for McCourty to catch up to it.
Throws a bullet there. It's probably.
But it was on the money.
Yeah,
like it was a good throw.
A few things go differently. We were talking about this game and Goff's performance in another light. It's just things didn't go that way.
And then he threw a really really bad interception to Stephon Gilmore, just threw up a lame duck.
Well, which was a result of pressure and or missed assignment. Somebody
tried to
free.
throw it to the end zone and ended up being a lame duck, and Gilmore got it 5 yards short of the intended receiver.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
it happens.
Feel bad for the guy. He's had a good season. I'm not trying to dunk on him or anything. But, he didn't. The Rams as a whole on the offense did not live up to the hype that they got at all.
But we'll jump into that a little bit more, too.
Yeah, we're definitely going to elaborate on it. But we're going to move on to my ugly. And, or really, it's under as my bad. But honestly, I should just rename this ugly. And I'm talking like, this isn't like, a little bit unattractive. This was terrible. And I'm talking about Saturday, college hoops. ACC matchup between Virginia Tech Hokies and the NC State Wolfpack. Yeesh. I was watching this game live because it was right before the Louisville-North Carolina game, and so we were just kind of like waiting for that game to start. And so we watched the second half. It was on the same channel, and I literally Snapchatted Ty, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be my ugly later in the week. This game...
Yeah, you've been sitting on this one for a while.
Yeah, I've had this queued up as my ugly since Saturday. This thing was bad. The final score of this game was 47-24. 71 points combined.
Lord.
Most teams put up 71 by themselves in that game.
That's a football score.
Yeah. So here's some quick stats.
If you read that, I thought it was a football game.
Yeah.
I thought that Virginia Tech and NC State played on the Saturday football.
Virginia Tech did not play good by any means. Obviously, they only scored 47 points. They shot 35% from the field. That's not good. 33% from three. That's not good. Only 61% from free throws. That's not good. They didn't really only 8 assists. That's not good. So I'm not going to praise Virginia Tech as if they played well. No, they played awful. But what I really want to highlight is NC State.
How does 24 points happen?
Yeah, they scored 14 and a half, and I'm like, all right, that's a really, really bad half. But, if you come out and you score your 30 or 35 or, kind of like your average half in the second, they'll at least make this look somewhat decent. They scored 10 in the second half. They played worse.
What was their leading score? What do you have, like 8?
Their leading score, let me look at the box score real quick. I was on their team stats a second ago, but their leading scorer had 7.
Oh, my
goodness. He shot 3 of 13 from the field.
Oh,
yeah. Braxton Beverly, a kid that 2 games prior absolutely torched Louisville for like 20 points. He's their starting point guard, probably one of their best players. Shot 0 of 13.
Oh, talking about a bad night.
And 0 of 9 from 3. So he was awful. And then here's some team stats. They were 9 of 54 from the field. That's 16%. 2 of 28 from 3. That's 7%.
Wow.
They only shot 6 free throws. And here's probably the worst part. They only had 2 assists.
Yeah.
Only 2.
Only scored 24 points.
Well, yeah, but only 2 passes. Or 2 buckets came off passes. This marks the lowest scoring game, or the lowest scoring game from one particular team in the modern era. I looked up NC State's overall lowest for their history, and it was like back in 1923, and they only scored like 8. But
that's when they were beach baskets.
Yeah, that doesn't really count. So in the modern era, it's the lowest.
NC State was ranked during this game, right?
They were ranked number 23.
23,
yeah. And they just I don't know what happened. They were just flat on every level.
Everybody's got a bad night in them.
This was not a bad night. This was like if I'm Kevin Keats, their head coach, I'd literally go find that film and burn it. I would light it on fire.
Something to learn from. But then again, I mean,
you don't want your guys to remember this game. I would tell them just forget it. This game was bad.
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, that seems like just all systems failing. I don't know what really.
And they came out and they lost their next game too. NC State did. Not quite as embarrassingly. I think they lost by 10.
Okay, who would you rather be, NC State or Kansas?
I'd rather be NC State just because I feel like your team's really not that great. I mean, I'm not saying NC State's terrible, but I don't think you really ever look at NC State and think, oh yeah, we're gonna be a Final Four team. But Kansas,
they've lost 4 out of their last 6. I think.
I know, but Kansas at least has
bad teams.
Yeah. Kansas, I think, is probably worse to be a fan at least, is because how much talent your team has, how much potential they have, and so I think it'd be more disappointing seeing them fall short. Whereas with NC State, I don't think you really ever thought you were that great anyway. So I mean, it's still a bummer that you're losing.
I asked
but
with which team just has more hope.
Oh, I think Kansas probably has more hope. Just because, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not playing good, but I still think at the end of the day, come March, talent figures things out.
But really, the trajectory they're on, what seed is likely? They're an 8?
7 or 8, yeah, they're bad. They're really bad right now. But, I mean, once again,
If that
you
can
get
be
hot
lowered.
come March, whatever, you win the Big 12 tournament, which is still very
They could,
doable.
And they've done that for a long time.
Then your
They've
your
done
stock
it.
drop or jumps. So I mean, Kansas still has hope. Whereas NC State, they're looking like an 8 or 9 seed at best, as if they make the tournament, because they're on the streak right now where they can't hit a shot. And I think I'd probably rather be. I think Kansas probably has more hope. But that's my ugly, and yeah, that's probably the ugliest of uglies I've probably had since the bullpen was originated, because this thing was just a train wreck. And that's really all I have to say about that. But I want to bury it from my memory, just that I ever watched it, because it was just so bad.
Okay, well, I wanna pivot off that, because that really reflects what I'm about to talk about. Burying things from your memory. That's something I've been trying to do since January 13, 2016.
Oh no.
Been trying to and I've been kind of successful. That's the date, but that all changed just yesterday. That's the date that the Bengals were last in the playoffs, whenever they got ousted by the Steelers after the infamous Jeremy Hill fumble, and then the penalties on Pac-Man Jones and the rest of the defense that really kind of created the thug mantra that's been around the team. Anyways, life goes on. I've moved on. I still have some nightmares. I still think about it sometimes.
I try to repress that.
I joke that I haven't been truly happy since.
No.
And that's a tease. But yeah, so been trying to forget about it, and then yesterday, Jeremy Hill, who is now with the Patriots, he has a ring. Granted, he only played one game this season. He tore his ACL. He's been rehabbing, but he's still on the team. He gets a ring because they win. And he took to Instagram and posted a story, said, "Imagine being a Bengals fan," with a lot of laughing emojis. Well, I would hand it to him that it was a good joke, but he'd probably drop it somewhere. So I won't do that for his sake. Okay, that was a joke, man. Come on, what tough crowd.
I missed. I honestly, it flew over my head. I get you now. But honestly,
because he fumbles.
Yeah,
he
fumbles. But you didn't.
I called him Butterfingers.
You didn't really emphasize that it was a joke. You just kind of you had a straight face, so it was kind of hard to read that you were trying to be funny. But now I get it.
Yeah,
it's hard to joke when I'm this broken, I think. Anyways, he posts that. And then he just starts going on Twitter and Instagram, just taking shots at Bengals fans and interacting with them. He sets off a lot of people. So, guys are tweeting at him. He's tweeting back. And I just can't believe that he has the audacity to do something like that. And granted, he says it's because he's faced years of torment from this franchise for fumbling that ball. And he decides it's his time to deliver it back. So now he's got a ring. He's Mr. Big Shot, which honestly just stings, knowing that a guy who caused you so much pain is now wearing a ring and brags about it because he just rehabbed the whole year. Congratulations, man, but you're really not that special, and you're really just frustrating. Imagine being a Bengals fan who watched you fumble away the hopes of a city. Imagine being a Bengals fan who watched you the next year average 1.5 yards a carry.
Yeah,
couldn't move your feet.
That's like being a 12th man on an NBA franchise, win a ring, be like Anderson Varejao or something like that, and then acting like you're the GOAT or something like that. I think it's just you won a ring, congratulations, bro, but, know your role. You weren't really doing anything, so I mean.
Jeremy Hill is he's a skinnier, a little bit skinnier version of Eddie Lacy. When Eddie Lacy was terrible on the Packers the past few years, and Jeremy Hill's way lighter, and he's that bad. And now he's got a ring, and he's going to be all big shot, and who knows what's going to happen next year, but it was frustrating to have to remember all those things yesterday.
As I was at that game personally, I try to repress the memory. Hey, Jeremy Hill, congratulations. You had 3 carries for 11 yards. Nobody cares. You're irrelevant. Bye-bye.
Yeah, be quick with your ugly, because we're kind of
all right.
We're kind of
so my
long.
infuriating has to do with really, and this is a bit of a weird one, but kind of the sports media reaction to Tom Brady winning a championship. Listen, I know you don't like Tom Brady, but some of the things that were asked at this press conference were ridiculous. There was one sports reporter, his name's Adam Best. He's with fansided.com, whatever that is, because no one's heard of him because he's irrelevant.
Dang, he likes that word tonight. Irrelevant.
And so Adam Best, I checked out his Twitter feed. It's not sports. It's all just him yelling at people. And so his press conference question was him yelling at Tom Brady about his supposed views on, dare I say it, politics. And I don't care. I don't care about Tom Brady's politics. And everyone's doing it. Everyone is trying to ask Tom Brady about this and that and that. The guy just won a Super Bowl, and you really want to ask him about this? Are you kidding me? It's insane to me that Tom Brady, and I get it, he's the most hated man in sports because he's won, 6 Super Bowls? But come on.
Yeah.
Let's be adults here.
I agree.
If you want to be a political commentator, go work at CNN or MSNBC. Don't work at Fansided or at Deadspin or at ESPN writing think pieces about how Tom Brady is everything you hate about politics.
Especially if you get the privilege to go to the Super Bowl.
And especially if you're asking Tom Brady the question about why he's friends with Donald Trump. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Come on. Grow up.
Yeah, I think that it kind of almost reminds me of like the Dante DiVincenzo type of thing when they won it at Villanova. It's like the night of, you're celebrating your big victory. It's like your great moment in your life, and it's like they got to try to knock you down like on the same night. It's like one thing no one cares.
Was that old tweets or something like that?
Yeah. It's it's one thing to get political, and obviously we don't like that at any time. But if you're gonna do it, I mean, at least do it like a week or two later. Like, let him have his night. I mean, come on, why you gotta attack him the night of his big night? It's just terrible timing, and it's classless. And I don't like Brady, but
it is. And it's the press conference after the game. Tom Brady's sitting up there in his championship shirt, wearing his hat, and this guy Adam Best, who's a joke of a sports reporter, is screaming at him because he doesn't like these supposed political views that Tom Brady, who doesn't talk about any of this, to my knowledge, Tom Brady has never talked about any of this publicly on social media or to the press. But the supposed things that Tom Brady believes, this man's just screaming at him about it. And to Brady's credit, he didn't answer the question, which I think Brady showed a little bit of maturity there, just saying, yeah, I'm not really going to talk about that. But come on. And then some of these articles that come out that his play call, they had a play call, I think the play was called Reagan, if you heard that audible, where they ran to the right.
I did hear about that, yeah.
We had at least a dozen things in ESPN, and of course Jamel Hill got involved.
A little too political. A little too political,
okay.
I think.
Well, the point of this is, if you're going to ask questions about a guy at the Super Bowl, ask him about the game. Don't ask him about his private life. I mean, come on.
100%.
Seriously.
We agree on that. So, yeah, we always kind of run fairly long with these things, mostly because we're always really passionate about what our great good and bad is, or good, bad, and infuriating, whatever you want to call it. We normally kind of get riled up about them just because it's what we chose to put down. So, like, sometimes we go a little long, but, it happens. We always adjust on our time. So we're going to kind of go quickly through the Super Bowl just because we already kind of hit on it, but we are going to recap it. So in case you were one of, like, the 5 Americans in the world that didn't watch the Super Bowl, which I don't,
or the city of New Orleans. Yeah,
or the city of New Orleans, and you don't know what happened. The Patriots took down the Rams 13-3. I don't think anybody saw that score coming. People mostly predicted a 20s or 30s type game. But it was a defensive struggle. I mean, more like an offensive struggle because the defenses were playing great and the offenses were just sluggish. It wasn't really like the Patriots played good offensively. They didn't. And it wasn't like Brady really played a great game. He was all right. He made plays when he needed to, but for the most part, he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It was just an ugly game from both sides. Julian Edelman was named the MVP, which, I personally would have given it to Stephon Gilmore, but they don't normally give it to defensive players unless they do something really outspoken or crazy. I think Edelman deserved it as well. He had 140 yards receiving.
10 catches as well.
Yeah, so he stepped up.
He stayed busy.
As far as offensive firepower, he was the only guy catching a ball on the Patriots offense, him and Gronkowski.
Well, Brady was really just as uncomfortable as Goff was towards the beginning of that game. I think what really allowed him to have that or orchestrate that drive was just his savvy and his experience. He was able to overcome whatever discomfort the Rams were causing him, and they were in that backfield and invading the pocket a lot. That front seven was for the Rams, so he just was able to adjust and kind of be that guy that he's been. And Goff couldn't quite answer the bell.
Yeah. So first question I'm going to ask, we're going to be quick with this. All right, so pretty quick.
All right.
Is who is the most to blame on the Rams side of things for this loss?
I guess I'll start. Their offensive line, straight up, just got bullied, and Jared Goff was out of the pocket. He was getting hit. It's hard to play good football when you're trying to throw off your back foot on the run, because Kyle Van Noy is chasing you down, or Dietrich Wise, Trey Flowers, whoever.
Ndamukong Suh. Oh wait, he's on the
He's on the Rams.
What are you talking
He's
about,
on the Rams. I was thinking defensive line guys.
Yeah, so I mean,
yeah, that offensive line's to blame.
Goff's going to take a lot of the blame for this because he's the quarterback, he's the field general. Sean McVay's going to take some heat for this, and he already has. But the offensive line did not.
That blows my mind that people were already questioning McVay after the great season he's had and the good year he had before, and like a Super Bowl loss. Like, granted, they didn't put up points like they thought they would, but come on, man, you can't question McVay after one bad outing.
Granted, I will say that. Yes, I don't doubt McVay as a coach. I think McVay's a really good coach. And I'm not going to say one bad outing, ruins his reputation. It shouldn't. But that being said, the question is who is most to blame for this loss, not the whole season in general. And for this game in particular, I think that Sean McVay is the most to blame. The reason why I say that is Todd Gurley, he seemed, I wouldn't say necessarily 100%, but when he got the ball, he was decent. I think he had like 40 yards on like 10 carries, something like that. He had some nice runs.
10 carries, 41 yards.
Yeah, they let him wake up in the second half, and he was fairly productive when he got the ball. But you don't run him, hardly at all. Also, one of the things that made Todd Gurley so good throughout the season is not only his running ability, it's his ability to catch passes. They threw like little screen passes and short dump-offs to him all the time, and that worked. They didn't throw the ball to a running back a single time in that entire game. Why? I have no idea. Because with the way Goff is being rushed, sometimes the way you counter a great pass rush is you throw little dump passes, shovels, screens. You just get rid of the ball, let your running backs take care of business. That's the way you handle being pass rushed really well. They didn't do that. They just let Goff drop back in the shotgun and throw downfield. And Goff's a third-year quarterback who doesn't have a very good playoff resume as far as showing up in the playoffs. He played pretty good against the Saints, but last season, when the Rams were in the playoffs, he played terrible. I think it was against the Falcons in the opening round, and they lost. It was wild card weekend, and yeah, he was bad. So in his like 3 playoff games he's had so far in his career, he hasn't been good in 2 of the 3. And so he definitely has a resume of, maybe getting a little bit rattled, a little bit nervous. And when you have a young quarterback like that, you need to ease him into the game. Let him get comfortable. Throw those dump-offs. Throw those short passes. Let him get comfortable. They never let Goff do that, and I don't think he was ever able to wake up. And when you're a quarterback, getting going early and getting a good start in the game and getting some momentum defines you. But, having 0 points in the first half and looking completely drowsy on offense, I don't think Goff was ever able to wake up and kind of get himself into the game. And I think McVay has a lot to do with that. He was traditional, he was predictable, and Belichick straight up out-coached him for that full run time.
Fair enough.
Just the stats pull up here. The Rams led the league by far in receiving by running backs this year. Like, by far. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
The stats in the game, C.J. Anderson, 2 receptions, 11 yards.
Oh, okay, so they did throw to him.
Todd Gurley, 1 reception, -1 yards.
They threw to Gurley?
Gurley had 1 reception, and he lost a yard. Overall, Goff was 19 for 38 for 229 yards and an interception.
Yeah,
his QB
bad.
rating was 58.
Yeah, he was bad.
So, yeah.
But it's not all his fault. Like I said, I think McVay did not do Goff any favors, and his offensive line didn't do him any favors.
He got sacked 4 times and he was pressured he was pressured 21 times.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That's tough to have a good game whenever that's the case. But a lot of people are saying this is the most boring Super Bowl in recent memory. Possibly, and they're possibly right. A lot of analysts had reasons. Trey Wingo went on a big rant about that for reasons unexplained. He was not a fan of people calling it boring, but really,
Wingo's a defensive guy, so I mean.
Well, what really just stuck out to me, I was at a Super Bowl party this year with a couple Patriots fans, and there was a good amount of people there.
I'm sorry to hear that.
We're just watching the game, and it didn't feel special. Like, even the people who were Patriots fans, like, I was looking over as they're about to win, and they were just sitting there, casual, business as usual, like, and it disgusted me almost. I was like, how dare you just sit there?
How dare you win the biggest game of the year?
Not
and
win.
You just don't care.
Just how dare you sit there like that and call yourself a fan of a team? Granted, yeah. I mean, I know you guys win a lot of championships, but as a competitive person who roots for a team that has not had that chance, it just lit a fire under me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about it the whole drive back. I was like, man, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
But it was a boring game.
It was a boring game.
Everything about it was boring.
This is the first Super Bowl probably in my lifetime where I actually was looking at my phone during like a quarter of the plays.
Here's a question.
Never catch me doing that in any other Super Bowl, but in this one, I mean, there were plays where I was like, I'm just going to take a little mental break just because I can't look at the screen and actually be thoroughly entertained by this.
Which was more boring, the Seahawks blowout of the Broncos or this game?
I say this one. Because at least there's one team that's showing offensive skill in the Seahawks blowout. I know that it's a blowout,
Well,
obviously.
in this game, the Rams still had a chance. It wasn't like they were entirely out
but
of it
I'd
till the
rather
end.
watch a high-scoring, non-competitive game probably than like a 0-0, for half the game type of game where nothing's happening. Like, I don't know. At least one team was making plays in the Seahawks-Broncos. I mean, I was bored, but I was less bored than in this one.
I disagree with you there. I think
I thoroughly disagree with that too. I actually, during the Seahawks-Broncos game, I think I went to go. What was it, Sunday night? I was like a sophomore in high school. I think I went upstairs and just did homework. It was like 24-0.
It may have had
because you were very.
It may have had something to do with the fact that I was rooting for the Seahawks, and I really like Russell Wilson. So part of it was just the fact that the team that I was wanting to win was dominating. So I was somewhat entertained just by the fact that, I liked who was winning. Whereas in this game, I didn't like who was winning. So it may have had a little bit of internal bias there, but I don't know. I think I enjoyed that one a little more than this game. I was bored out of my mind, and the halftime show wasn't good.
Horrible.
And the commercials weren't funny. I mean, I really, other than the NFL 100 commercial,
that's the one everybody's been talking about.
I didn't really laugh at all. And so, I don't know. I just thought the whole night, honestly, I could have missed the Super Bowl, and I really don't think I would have had that many regrets.
Come on now.
I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. Do I regret watching it? No, but I'm just saying, I think that I could have missed this one this year, and I don't think I would have missed much. I'm missing a game that, I wasn't enjoyed by.
We'll move on to the last question here. Cause for concern with Jared Goff's future. That's a big no for me.
No,
not at all.
Nope. The kid's still going to be good.
It will be interesting to see what happens next year, seeing as his quarterback coach, Zach Taylor, is going to be in Cincy. That's really the biggest change I think he's got coming.
The only way Goff is in trouble is if he lets this affect him mentally. I think he is a pretty composed person. He seems to be, but if he takes this loss and it gets in his head, and he becomes kind of like a sitting duck out there who can't make decisions anymore because he's just kind of insecure, then there's cause for concern. But if he's able to shrug this off, his team's able to pick him back up and give him confidence again, he'll be fine. He's got the natural talent to still be a good quarterback.
Yeah, if he does. But the thing is, for him, I'd say, obviously he was getting hit on the talking heads on Twitter, on ESPN, on the talk show circuits. We're all hammering him. If I were him, I'd just turn off the TV, stay off Twitter.
Because the quarterback's going to get blamed for everything.
Yeah,
and it wasn't all his fault.
You're the field general. You're always going to take the blame. When you do something good, they praise you as a genius. When you do something bad, they hail you as an idiot. So. And
also, the fan turnout at that game was so heavily Patriots.
Oh yeah,
it was
a Patriots home
the
game.
Rams fans just didn't show out. I mean, there was hardly any Rams fans there. So it was basically an away game, and it's the Super Bowl, so obviously it's gonna be loud. So I mean, it's probably pretty hard to communicate and get there were some false starts and just kind of some offensive dysfunctions that probably had a lot to do with the fans' atmosphere. So I mean, he had a lot going against him. I mean, I didn't expect him to play amazing, but I didn't expect him to play that bad. But he had a lot going against him. So I think
there's only
he deserves a pass.
There's only 3 Rams fans there whenever their buses rolled back into LA, and I saw a tweet. It was just as many fans as they scored points in the game.
Yeah,
only 3 fans greeted them when their bus arrived at LAX.
Granted, they were excited fans. They had a big flag and things like that.
Yeah,
they had more spirit than 3 people. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a story. Rams fan base is a story for another time about the
NBA.
But let's move on to the trade deadline.
Yeah, let's talk about the trade
on.
deadline. Let's talk about the NBA.
Yeah, so I'll kind of introduce it by saying that there's been the trade deadline's tomorrow at 3 p.m. I'm obviously going to be turning on Adrian Wojnarowski's, anything he tweets, I'm going to get a notification. I have to be keeping up with this. A lot of drama already going on, but the main storyline is between the Los Angeles Lakers and the New Orleans Pelicans. There's been, the Lakers are pulling all stops to try to get Anthony Davis now that he wants out.
Pelicans are playing hard to get.
Yeah, and the Pelicans, if they're at the poker table right now, they're bluffing hard. I mean, they're trying to get as much out of Davis as they possibly can, almost to a fault where it could potentially bite them. Because I think the Lakers. So this is the Lakers' offer that they offered just a couple nights ago. They offered Lonzo Ball, who averages probably 8 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 or 8 assists. I mean, he's not amazing, but he's a solid all-around player. You just got to put up with
talent.
Yeah, developing talent. Kyle Kuzma, already a really good player, a Rising Stars Challenge type player, averages 8, 16, 17. Good player. Rajon Rondo still going to get you about 10 assists, make some shots. He's not great, but he's good. Lance Stevenson, good all around, just kind of hustle guy, kind of a glue dude. Michael Beasley, I mean, he'd probably just be like a depth piece. Brandon Ingram, just being better and better every single year.
Very
also
athletic.
a rising star, athletic, has flashes of brilliance, but just not consistent, but still talented. And 2 first-round picks, which, considering the Lakers are a 500 team right now, those potentially could be, borderline lottery picks in the future. So, I mean, maybe not lottery, but fairly close, mid-round. So, those could end up being good players. So, all of that for Anthony Davis and Solomon Hill, and the Pelicans turned it down, said they want 4 first-round picks. In addition to all of that, what team in their right mind is going to give that to the New Orleans Pelicans?
The New York Knicks.
They don't have anything to give other than money and picks. That's pretty much it.
They don't have prospects
what player
LA's
on the
offering.
Knicks is worth trading?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the Knicks are perfectly willing of.
They'd be willing to dump everything they have, but they don't have anything.
Sell the farm, buy the car. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but what are you gonna give them? Like Kevin Knox? Not bashing Knox. I'm just saying
Ron
Ron Baker.
The only reason I think that the Pelicans that the Lakers would offer such a crazy deal is because they don't have full assurance that they would be able to sign Davis when he becomes a free agent after this year.
Yeah, the
Which
Lakers
must mean the Knicks are in the ballpark. They're a big shark in the sea lurking for him, and I feel like they must have some kind of intel that he's leaning that way.
Yeah, he's leaning towards possibly New York. He's considering the Bucks.
Milwaukee too, yeah.
Yeah, the Bucks. And obviously the Celtics are willing to trade for him, and they're even potentially willing to give up Jason Tatum, from what I'm hearing on Bleacher Report and stuff. So, there's plenty of offers. Everybody wants this guy, and the Lakers, they've kind of had this history in the past 5 years of going after all these big players and then not getting them outside of LeBron. Other than that, normally they fall short every year. They're worried they're going to do that again, so they're bringing everything to the house and to try to get Davis. And they still can't get him because the Pelicans don't want to do business with L.A.
They don't.
I don't know what their problem with L.A. is. I guess they just don't like him.
I think
they don't want to do business with him.
I think they made a good move in saying, we want 4 first-rounders and all these things, not just 2. Because, if you know you got a team that is this thirsty to get their hands on one of your players, why wouldn't you try and just get as much out of them as you can?
Yeah.
What I think they should have done is take the deal.
The deal, yeah.
That is going to set you forward. You have a full roster.
They're close to being a playoff team if they make that deal. Just with that core,
but
around the players they still have, which Julius Randle,
what's going to happen
Mirotic,
to the rest of their team if they take all these players on? They're going to have to just send guys to the G League, or what happens?
I don't know. I think they'd have to send some guys to the G League.
Yeah, they probably would send some.
Or just dump some of those guys for some future picks or cash considerations or something.
I just don't know why you turn that down. That's a franchise changing.
I know.
Lonzo, Rondo.
That's a playoff or borderline playoff team that the Lakers just offered them.
Ingram
plus 2 picks.
Stevenson.
That's ridiculous.
It reminds me of whenever
Kuzma,
the Bengals and Saints way back in the day, the Saints offered every single one of their picks one year for to move up to the top spot to draft a quarterback, and the Bengals declined it, drafted Achilles Smith. Guy was terrible.
Yeah.
Set the franchise back for years. If we would have taken that deal and accepted all those players, who knows
with the number 1 pick that year, the Bengals were offered the Saints first, second, third.
It was every single one that year.
Yeah, the Saints had 8 picks, and they offered every single one of them for number 1 overall.
This is the way I look at it. I look at it as I look at trades and GM type of stuff. I find it fascinating. I love the GM type of side of sports, and I look at it as like a game of poker. Honestly, I think it involves kind of some bluffing. I think it kind of involves some inner intentions that you're trying to hide from the other organization. You have to try to figure out what these GMs are thinking. Kind of try to figure out. I think what the Pelicans are trying to do. They're trying to get as much for Davis as they can, obviously. But this is where that goes wrong, is if a team's stupid enough to fall for it and give you everything you want, then yeah, you're the big winner. Right. Here's the problem. Something like what just happened with the Lakers backing out and basically saying, nah, we don't want anything to do with that. We're not going to give you 4 picks. If stuff like that starts happening, then you get nothing. And you have to dump Davis eventually because he's going to walk as a free agent after next season if you don't get rid of him at some point. And the thing is, the more time that goes on before, or the closer you get to his free agency, the less leverage they have because teams know you have to dump him. So they're going to be like, we'll give you a couple, mediocre players and maybe like a second-round pick. And the Pelicans will have no choice but to take it because they're either going to get those mediocre players or they're going to get zero. So, like,
unless
they have no leverage.
Unless they think they're a playoff team this year and they just want to keep Davis for it.
Well, that's not fair. That's not an accurate assessment.
Well, and if you're going to do that, then play Davis. But they sat him the last 3 games.
Or do you think they have some like ludicrous hope that they may be able to re-sign him or something?
No, there's no
despite
way.
those camp
There's
switches?
no way.
They can't be that.
I think they're trying to bluff, and I think they're going to try to play hard to get and hope that some stupid team like the Knicks or something is going to just give them everything they want. But that's probably not going to happen because I think most GMs have at least enough common sense to not give up 4 first-round picks plus players. That's just absolutely ludicrous. That would go down as probably one of the worst trades ever. Like resemblance of the Brooklyn Nets Boston Celtics trade a couple years back with Pierce and Garnett getting dished and then Danny Ainge's miracle. I'm not going to get into
still
that.
Reaping those benefits.
But it could be like resemblant of how bad that trade was if a team gave them 4 first-rounders plus players. No one's going to do that.
For Pierce and Garnett, the Celtics got 6 draft picks over like 7 years. It was incredible.
I think the Pelicans just missed a huge break because the Lakers just gave them a golden ticket, and the Pelicans just threw it in the garbage. I honestly think the Pelicans are going to regret not taking that deal because now the Lakers just are like, all right, whatever, we're moving on. And they're going to set their sights towards getting Kyrie or potentially Klay Thompson in the offseason. I don't know if they'll get them, but they're going to try to. And they might just be like, all right, we're done with Davis because we're not going to give that up. And the Pelicans just are going to regret the fact that they had a chance to, have a solid team for years to come, and they just threw it away.
5 players, 2 draft picks. I mean, heck, that's a good deal.
Pride got in their way.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Dell Demps should be fired on the spot.
Yeah.
Honestly, with Anthony Davis, I think if he's not traded by 3 o'clock tomorrow, he's going to walk this summer. I mean,
exactly.
And you get nothing. You're not.
Well, no. He's on contract next season, so it'd be the season after.
No, he can opt out.
He can opt out. He's a player option.
So you're saying this summer he can leave?
This summer he can opt out of his contract and walk in free agency.
I must have read something wrong. That's not what I read.
That's what I read.
I don't know. We'll have to fact check or something.
We'll do that later. But regardless, someday in the future he's going to walk.
Yeah.
He's not staying in New Orleans much longer. He's going to skip town. He's going to maybe L.A., maybe Boston. Maybe he and Giannis will go form some freak athletes team up in Milwaukee. Who knows? And so
I would love to see that. That'd be great.
Oh, yeah, 2 freakish athletes. Yeah, it's incredible.
I'd love to see how they play together.
But, I mean, and then what does New Orleans have? Nothing. Because they turned down Lonzo, Ingram, Kuzma, Rondo, Stevenson, Zubac, 2 draft picks.
Yeah,
that's like
this is
right
the thing.
There. That's right there. That's 8 assets.
Yeah, and get rid and look at it from the Lakers' point of view. Let's say that trade went through. They get Davis. They're starting Andre Ingram at their shooting guard. The dude's like 40. I don't know what the Lakers were thinking because I don't care how good LeBron and Davis would be together. 2 great players don't win championships. Teams win championships.
I think Josh Hart would start at shooting guard over Andre Ingram.
Okay, you're right. You're right. Josh Hart was
KCP.
Yeah, well, they might have to play hard at point guard. Who would their point guard be? They'd lose Ball and Rondo.
LeBron would run the one.
So then you're gonna have a
magical lace.
Magical him. Hey man, he's still.
They'd be starting Mo Wagner probably a power forward. I mean,
exactly.
This would be
Wagner. It'd be Davis and Wagner would be the big men.
This would be a historically bad supporting cast for LeBron and Davis. It would be a 2-man show, and they would not be better. They'd probably be worse. I don't know what the Lakers are thinking because they would. Right now, the Lakers, while not great, at least they have 8 deep. At least they have like a team to build around, and those guys are just gonna get nothing but better. But if you dump all of that, that's your future for Davis. Who, if let's say the Lakers are bad those next 2 years with LeBron and Davis could maybe walk, and then you just got nothing out of it. They're in win now mode. I get it. They're trying to win a championship, and they think that they need 2 studs to do so. But you can't just give up the rest of your help and think that you're going to win games just because you have 2 of the top 5 players in the league. It just won't work.
Yeah.
Because the Warriors have 2 of the top 5 players in the league, but they have a supporting cast.
But they have
more than a supporting cast.
Yeah. So
Thompson, Draymond.
That team wouldn't. That team would get swept by the Warriors.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know what the Lakers were thinking. The Lakers should probably feel blessed that the Pelicans didn't accept it because they were about to just throw their franchise away.
And into New Orleans, the estate of Tom Benson should probably get move on their GM search because Dell Demps really dropped the ball on this one.
Well, as it stands,
It was
Davis
ugly.
is still a Pelican. Lakers are still intact.
And next
Let's
week,
move
we're
on
going to have a
this
lot to talk about.
College basketball breakdown. We want to go over the top 25 teams. We're going to start at the top and just kind of preview them as we head into March and the season winds down.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off with the top guys. We got number 1 Tennessee.
Yeah, this is but just quick preface to this. This is gonna kind of be like our new NFL predictions, kind of like where we fill in that slot where we would pick the primetime games every week. This is kind of what we're gonna do instead. We like to kind of end our show on something like analysis based for just to kind of end things off, and that's how we're gonna do it now. Is we're gonna preparing for March Madness. We're gonna break down the top teams. So that's what we're doing. Yeah, we're starting with Tennessee, and so you guys are the SEC guys because of UK. So I'll let you guys start with what you think of that team.
Well, Tennessee is very experienced and very talented. They start I don't think they start anybody who's not a junior. I'm not
Yeah,
entirely
3
sure.
juniors, 2 seniors.
Yeah, so they got a lot of experience, and I think that'll really help them come March, seeing as they had that painful loss to Loyola Chicago last year. So they're going to be hungry this year. And they got Grant Williams, a big man, probably going to be up there for SEC Player of the Year. He's averaging 20 points a game, 7.5 rebounds, shooting 58% from the field. He just does it all.
He's a stud.
Yeah, he's a traditional big man, and he's a brute down low.
Yeah.
Then Admiral Schofield, who is just very muscular and athletic, can do a lot with the ball. 16.5 a game, 6 boards for him, and he's 48% from the field. So they shoot 51 as a team. They make shots. That's something that
that's
is
second in the
spectacular.
NCAA.
Yeah, and they average 20 assists a game, which is also second. So they do a lot of things well, and they're going to be a tough team. We have a fun matchup. They're going to be coming up to Lexington here in a few weeks to take on the Wildcats.
I want to say this. I saw on Twitter just like 15 minutes before our show, there was like a tweet that said like, who do you think is the most overrated player in the SEC? And it's talking about like all sports. And Barstool UK actually tagged Admiral Schofield and said, we think you are or whatever. I'm like, why are you doing that for? Admiral Schofield's a stud, and like all you're going to do is make him mad.
A little bit of gamesmanship, I guess.
No, that's just one of those Barstool accounts.
Yeah, I know. They're just trying to stir the pot, but I don't know what they're thinking because Schofield's a great player. And when I see this Tennessee team, I mean, I got to witness them firsthand. You guys will too when Kentucky plays them. I got to witness them firsthand in the Louisville-Tennessee game earlier in the season. They're the real deal. They pass the ball great. They have a great backcourt of Jordan Bone and Lamonte Turner. I mean, those aren't their top 2 players, but yet they're still great ball control players.
Bones, their point guard?
Yeah, Bones, their point guard.
That's going to be a fun matchup versus Ashton Higgins.
Yeah, Bones a good player, and Lamonte Turner's a good shooter and just kind of a good role player. And then, Grant Williams, Schofield kind of anchor that team. They drop 86 points a game, so they're high scoring. That's top 10 in the NCAA. Yeah, and they're experienced. They know how to play together. They pass the ball really well. This is their only weakness that I noticed, and this isn't that big of a weakness. It's not an X's and O's weakness. X's and O's, they're one of the best teams out there. But I'm just looking at history, and I think history tends to repeat itself. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, Rick Barnes deserves to be a Coach of the Year candidate for what he's done with Tennessee this year. He's been great. But in his history, he has a history of underachieving in the NCAA tournament. He did it with Tennessee last year. He did it with Texas year in and year out. They always underachieve considering the talent they had. I mean, Rick Barnes got to coach Kevin Durant. I mean, he's also coached Mo Bamba. I mean, he's coached not Mo Bamba, never mind. But he's coached some great players at Texas, and they underachieved almost
Tristan
every
Thompson.
year. Yeah, Tristan Thompson. So I mean,
I definitely say
history
as it stands
repeats
right
itself.
now. It's looking like they're going to be a 1 seed, maybe even the number 1 overall if things continue down the way they are. So I think it'd be foolish to say they're not a championship contender at this point.
Yeah, they're
Obviously,
a contender.
I think they definitely could
obviously.
be. Anybody who's a 1 seed is going to be, but as you noticed, I think it may come. They got to prove it to us. Get past the Sweet 16.
Barnes
and
has
then
to
we'll
prove
talk
to
about
me that he can coach in the postseason because so far he hasn't done that.
Rick Barnes. Rick Barnes. I'm sorry, Matt. Has been to one Final Four in 20-something years of coaching.
Yeah, and so I just don't trust the guy, and until he proves something to me, I'm not gonna have him as the champion, but they're definitely a Final Four contender.
Go ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, just cut you off. My take on Tennessee, they're really, really good, but I've seen a little bit of weakness in them, and there's one particular area where they're not good, and that's perimeter defense. They cannot guard.
Yeah, that is true.
They are not good at guarding the 3, and that's always been a weakness for Rick Barnes' teams. But once you get to March, if you simply cannot guard 3-point shooting, there's no way teams aren't going to look at that and say that's an Achilles heel. Because I mean, in March, guys are going to try to step up and take threes late in the game. And if you're not guarding them and guys are getting wide open threes, then,
Yeah.
you know.
It could come back to bite them, especially if they play
yeah.
a great shooting team like Gonzaga or someone like that.
Gonzaga, who can shoot the lights out of the building, or heck, even, I know they're not a great three-point shooting team, but Duke can shoot when they
Capable.
want to. They're capable of
streaky
it
as heck.
with three-point shooting. They're great. Virginia's okay three-point shooting.
Well, let's get to those two teams as well. Let's transition to Duke. Obviously, definitely one of the most fun teams to watch this year with their big three.
Oh, they're a highlight reel, yeah.
RJ, Cam Reddish, and even little Trey Jones sprinkled in there. They got a lot of talent. And they're shooting 60% two-point field goals, which is third in the nation, and they have those big names like Zion, who averages 22, and RJ averages 23. Most of them are dunks.
Most of them are dunks, so that kind of helps the percentage.
But they have something that's very unique in Trey Jones. He really commands that team, and as he goes, they go, it seems like.
He does the little things. You saw how much worse Duke was when he was out for those couple games or whatever with injury. They were a completely different team with having R.J. Barrett run the point. He's not a natural point.
Was he out whenever they lost to Syracuse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trey Jones and Reddish were out for that one.
Right.
And they were a completely different team.
They can be vulnerable. They're not unbeatable.
Yeah, I mean, if they get injured. And even when they're not injured.
Even if they're not injured.
But they're still beatable, but it'd take a really good team and it'd take a really lackluster performance. I mean, they played an awful game against Gonzaga and still only lost by 4.
The Gonzaga game on Maui, but that was
one thing I really noticed.
And that was
about
early
Duke,
season.
And I don't watch Duke that much. I see their scores and I follow their games a little bit because they're always on ESPN. It seems like what's always important for teams is how you finish games, especially in the tournament. And I see a lot of times going into the half, late in the first half, it's like a 2-point game. Duke may even be losing. Like last night, they were losing to Boston College by 2 points late in the first half. I tuned back in, and they're up by like 30 late in the second half. So, I mean, you know, they may start slow, but they always get going, and they really finish teams late in the game.
And I think that's really just youth. I mean, they start 4 freshmen. And so, I mean, they're going to sometimes take teams too lightly and go into games a little bit lackluster. But I think Duke's really as good as they try. And I'm not trying to make them sound like juggernauts or like that they're unbeatable, because they're not. But I'm just saying when they're playing hard, you can kind of tell. And they turn it up a notch. And so I think that they're vulnerable if they kind of take a team lightly. But I think whenever they take a team seriously, they're my favorite to win the championship. They're really, really good.
But my caveat to that is, what if you just run and you're down the second half and halftime, but what if you can't go on a 20-0 run to start the second half like they did last night? What happens in the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 if you run into a buzzsaw?
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
A team that's actually going to... Last night they played Boston College. Boston College isn't very good. What happens, let's say it's the Elite 8 you're facing, let's just say a 2 seed. Let's just say Michigan, who's a good 2 seed team, probably. What happens if you're down to them and you can't just rely on, we just weren't trying our hardest, let's go out there and go on a 20-0 to run just to be...
Yeah.
What happens when you run into a buzzsaw?
I think that would be a Coach K thing, that he would take a lot of blame, because I think in the tournaments you have to convince your guys that every game is important and that every game is losable. And if he can't convince his guys that's kind of on Coach K, because I think in the tournament you got to convince your guys that they have to play 40 minutes. They can't just slack off.
That's why you see a lot of close opening, round of 64, round of 32, because these young guys still getting a feel for it. Yeah. I think that if they get to the Elite 8, they won't have to worry about it as much. But anything's possible. All it takes is one bad game or one off night.
And I think that their X factor really is just the play of Cam Reddish. I think he's honestly their X factor simply because he's so inconsistent. Cam Reddish has games like last night where he had 24, was probably I think he was the leading scorer, where he looks like the number 3 recruit in the nation and he looks great. And then there's also nights where he's honestly just another guy on the floor who's not contributing. And he's really inconsistent. You can almost always expect Zion and RJ to play pretty well. That's almost guaranteed. But Cam Reddish, very streaky. So if he plays good in the tournament, Duke's an amazing team. If he's playing bad, they're vulnerable. And that's because they don't hit threes. They're only 30% from 3 this year. And if they play a team who's hitting a lot of threes, yeah, they could get beat.
Gonzaga.
Real quick, let's jump to Virginia. They're number 3 right now.
Yeah. So Virginia, they're completely different than the other two in the fact that what defines Virginia is defense and also discipline.
And it's not a recipe for postseason success.
It's not.
We see it every year.
Yeah. It's not. It's a great recipe for regular season success. They're always good in the regular season. Virginia this year probably better than probably even better than last year. I think that they're really good. as far as their lineup, it's similar to last year, but I think that all their guys have one more year of experience, and they're playing better this season. Only 9 turnovers a game. That's ridiculous. That's really good. Not turning the ball over. They only commit 15 fouls a game. They don't get in foul trouble. DeAndre Hunter and Kyle Guy both average around 15. They're both good offensive players, and their opponents only shoot 37% against them. And their opponents only average around 20 made shots a game.
Boy, they must just tighten the rims an extra notch in that Virginia
It's
Stadium
crazy.
or something, huh?
That pack line is just so disciplined. They never really break. And their opponents are also averaging only 53 points a game, which is just uncanny how crazy that is. They shut you down. They don't, and also only allowing their opponents to average 8 assists a game. So whenever you do score on them, you kind of got to do it in ISO, kind of on your own. They don't really let you. They don't get beat off the pass very well because they transition, they adjust so well. So defensively, they're great. Problem is what you just said. Postseason, it hardly ever translates because teams come out hot.
You got to be able to fill it up, man. You got to be able to get hot on a given night and really just outscore a team. And if you don't have that, it doesn't work in your favor very well.
Yeah, and that's the problem with Virginia. What do you think, Sam?
Well, obviously, we saw last year they come in as the number 1 overall seed, lose to Baltimore County College.
Yeah. UMBC, baby.
I believe the Terriers.
Yeah.
But it's a perfect name, really was.
It's great. But to look at this historically wise, it's been 25 years since Virginia's been to the Final Four.
Yeah.
They have not been I believe. Yeah, that's correct. They haven't been to the Final Four since I think 94. So this will be 25 years. They need to find a way to translate great defense. And I've seen them play. They are a great defensive team, and they do everything right on defense. Their only loss to this year is Duke, and they'll get a shot.
And they gave Duke a great game in Cameron.
They gave Duke a great game. They get Duke in Charlottesville on Saturday, I believe.
Yeah, they do.
And that's going to be a huge game. Everyone's going to be watching that. I'm certainly going to watch that game.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Virginia I want to see them do better on offense because their defense is great, but their scoring is at times lackluster. They're really not good shooting.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that Guy, Hunter, they're consistently pretty good scorers. Ty Jerome normally is, but after those 3 who are all average around 15-ish, the next guy, the 4th highest scorer, only averages 7. So they don't really get supporting cast outside of those 3 on the offensive end. The rest of their offensive players are kind of just lackluster. So I think they need some of those other guys to step up and kind of provide some scoring for them to actually be great. Right now, I think their cap, their peak is probably about Elite 8. That's just, I'm not trying to diss them. I just think that they got to
get past the 16 seed first.
Yeah, I know. I think that their low end, if they play like they normally play in the tournament, is
1 and out against the 16 seed.
Well, I think that they'll beat a 16 seed
that
this
won't
year.
happen again.
I think that their worst scenario is losing in the second round, like an 8 seed. That's possible, but I think that they'll get past their first game. I just think they're too talented. And I like Tony Bennett a lot. I like what he's done with them, but I just don't trust them. And until they prove to me why I should, just like with Tennessee, I'm not picking them to win the championship. I just don't trust them. But I think Tennessee definitely has a better chance than Virginia does. So that's what we're going to do every week. We had fun doing it this week. Next week we'll probably be doing Michigan, Gonzaga, and Kentucky. Unless rankings change, which I think that they will. But unless one of those 3 teams loses and drops in the next AP poll, we'll probably be doing those 3. And so thanks for listening to the Bullpen. That's all we got. And we had a blast with it. So just keep tuning in every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. if you like what you heard. We try to put out good content every week. So signing off, I'm Matt.
I'm Ty.
I'm Sam.
Oh, and one more quick thing. I want to give a quick shout out to my mom. We've been doing these kind of at the end of every show. It's her birthday today. So I just want to wish you happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday,
I love you very much.
Happy birthday, Miss Barnes.
So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you. Peace.